SMT Nation, we back. We've got 3 pieces of news for you here today. All articles will be linked in the description. The first from Consumer Cellular, then we got a Dish story, and then a very interesting one that I'm going to spend some extra time on, and it's from Verizon. All right, so the first one, a bit of an update. Monica Alvin, Fierce Wireless, Consumer Cellular opens 2 stores in Florida. Okay, so Consumer Cellular opening stores for the first time ever. As far back as I can go with my channel, I think Consumer Cellular has always just kind of occupied shelf space within retailers. Walmart, Target, I think those are some that I remember seeing. So it never really had its own retail and its own store per se. So now they're going to be opening up a couple of them, and it says here that it's a store in the Villages, Florida. I'm not sure where exactly that is, but the 2 locations in the Villages span over 35,000 acres in 3 adjoining counties in central Florida. All right, so brick and mortar locations for the first time ever. And this is probably the best place to put it because if you think about it, Consumer Cellular targets the more mature consumer. Okay, so that's 2 retail locations specifically selling the branded service. They do have a new owner who I think purchased the company back in October of 2020. So it looks like the company is going to move in a direction where they can kind of stand alone and sell this service. And who knows, maybe it takes off. I think they did a good move to put it in this particular location. You have a lot of retirees. You have a community that is probably looking for service that they are, happy to pay a more, you know, uh, basic connectivity of service. And they're not looking for all the unlimited plans and all the priority data access and ultra wideband and ultra capacity. That's just not them. But having a niche sometimes is really all you need as a business. Maybe your goal isn't to have 200 million subscribers, but maybe your goal is to have 10 million subscribers. But when you do have those subscribers, you get them and you keep them, and they're happy to be your customers. So put this on your radar in case we get an update at a later time with Consumer Cellular possibly maybe opening more stores in the future. Let me know what you guys think of this. Comment down below if you like the concept of more Consumer Cellular stores, if you think this is going to take off for them. All right, next, the Dish story. Dish got some money. All right, more cash for building their 5G network. All right, link in the description. Mike Daniel Light reading. $2 billion roughly now going to Dish, at least in part to help build their greenfield 5G network. They're doing a nice job, folks. They're doing a good job of building out the network. They were able to hit their first, what do we call that? Like a requirement or a checkpoint for their mandatory network build. That first goal was to reach a certain build, and now they're kind of heading for the next checkpoint, which is I think the summer of next year. And if they are to kind of keep the scale that they have, and now with this infusion of cash, because they already spent the money they have in building the first part of the network, so now they've got to get the rest of this built. They've got deadlines pretty much the rest of the way, folks. So they said that initially it was going to take them 7 years and $10 billion to build out the network. It looks like they have heavily used up most of that cash. So they needed more money, and it looks like they were able to raise it. And now they can go about their business upgrading more sites. Dish will need to broadcast a total of 35,000 cell towers to meet the requirements from the FCC. Remember, they are part of the T-Mobile and Sprint merger. 10,000 sites are active as of right now, so they will need to add 25,000 sites by the middle of 2025. The 10,000 towers Dish has already built cost the company $2 billion. New Street analysts wrote in a recent note to investors. To build the remaining 25,000 sites at $200,000 per site, the company will need to spend a further $5 billion in capex, or what's known as capital expenditure. Okay, so they're going to spend $5 billion. They already spent $2 billion, so that puts it at $7 billion. So where's the other $3 billion? Well, it's probably going to be, coming in the form of, I don't know. They're going to have to find a capital investor. They're going to have to find somebody to bring them some cash. All right, now, if they're able to do it, the prospects loom where they can get involved with, enterprise. They can get involved in new 5G use cases. They obviously have to sell their service as a facilities-based provider as well, so they can do like retail wireless and prepaid and MVNO and things like that. They just got to build out their network. That is it. The only and sole focus of the company should be to build the network and then start targeting some retail operations so they can get some customers to pay for the service. All right, so I'm a customer. I'm a paying customer of Dish, and I have no problem paying my bill. And I'm excited to see this company get some traction and have people try their service. And this is something that we're going to continue to follow. So I will definitely give you guys the updates as they come. All right, Dish is going to need more money. They're going to need more time to build, but they are putting their head down and they are doing it. And we encourage it and we're happy to see it. Comment on that story. All right, last one. And this one is the biggie. And this is the one I want to focus on. And again, there's timestamps everywhere. So if you want to go back and check things out again and listen to some of the commentary I offer and what I read from these articles, you could do that. All right, Fierce Wireless, and this from Monica Alvin. Verizon welcomes back a former Vodafone chief, Vittorio Colau, to its board. Okay, this is interesting. If you guys are unaware, Vodafone and Verizon used to be a thing. Okay, Vodafone and Verizon were a joint venture owning and operating Verizon Wireless. And I think it was back in 2014 when Verizon bought out the ownership stake that Vodafone had in Verizon Wireless. And in 2014, when they made that purchase, essentially Verizon has just had this debt from buying that stake, and then they started buying Spectrum. I mean, that's where Verizon's debt comes from. If you guys have ever wondered, why does Verizon have so much debt? Why does AT&T have so much debt? It was these moves from the mid 2010 decade that put them in the position they're in. Right? For AT&T, it was Warner Media and DirecTV and all of that, and then for Verizon, it was like AOL and Bloomberg and media, and then this purchase. Anyways, the gentleman's name, Vittorio Colau, former Vodafone Group CEO, joining Verizon's board of directors effective November 4th. So he is currently on the board. This was announced, I think, on Monday, and he served on with the Vodafone Group as chief executive officer from 2008 to 2018. This guy's got wireless chops. Okay, it says here he served on Verizon's board from 2019 to 2021. That's Hans era, right? That's basically essentially through the pandemic. He left, was appointed to serve as Italian Minister for Innovation until October of 2022. So he since has left that position, and now he's back on the Verizon board. Okay, so what does this mean for Verizon? What are the connections here? What are we seeing? Well, it's a person who was there on the board previously. It's a person that was here during the Hans era. It's a person who understands the business. It's a person who has been a CEO of a major wireless operator. So Roger Etner, friend of the show, president of Recon Analytics, founder, says this is a positive thing for Verizon. I think it is. Roger says that it significantly strengthens the telecom understanding of the board, which includes distinguished leaders from Starbucks and UPS, all of which are very large companies with billions of dollars of quarterly revenue. The Verizon board members continue here with Dan Schulman, CEO of PayPal Holdings. Okay, former Sprint Nextel CEO as well, and Virgin Mobile USA, various positions at AT&T. It looks to me like the board has wireless people there with experience. Now, like I was saying before, this gentleman, Vittorio, he was with Verizon before. So they're not only are they not new, this person is not new to the industry, they're not new to the company, and they're not new to the CEO. I think there's a lot of familiarity here, and that's probably why Hans was probably on board with this and maybe recruited him. So the fact that he was on the board, the fact that he was, I don't know if you want to say like a partner of Hans in a way, it seems to work kind of nicely. But is Hans bringing more yes men, or is Hans bringing someone who could maybe help refresh the angles that Verizon is taking? There's no argument to be made that Verizon is in a good position when it comes to just the growth of the business. We just don't see it. They're not adding consumers. If not for the business side, they're losing customers. Maybe there's a lot of growth that's being left there out on the table. Hans did get rid of Tammy Irwin. He got rid of Ronan Dunn, who in my opinion both probably could have replaced Hans and did a fine job at the company. In fact, one would argue that maybe there's more speculation now than ever that Hans might be relieved of his duties. When a company that is so large and so dominant and has thrived for so long all of a sudden starts to behave differently and doesn't grow or can't produce the numbers quarterly, like 2, 3, 4 quarters in a row, there's going to be rumblings. And I don't know if I want to look too far into this, but some of the things that crossed my mind as potential possibilities in the most extreme cases, is this gentleman going to be the successor to Hans at some point? You could speculate that. Maybe. I mean, he has the chops. Former CEO of Vodafone, former advisor of the board, member of the board at Verizon. Dude knows the business, knows Hans, knows Verizon. Like, that's a lot of familiarity, And I'm saying that's the most extreme case. The other side of this is he's just coming on to bring the experience in the business to the board and offer the right type of voice to the company. And Roger comes in here and says Hans is a very nice person and people like him, and that goes a long way. Roger is a nice man. Roger is not going to throw anybody under the bus. But you just can't argue with the results. Verizon, Hans 2.0, it's just not cutting it. So maybe it is a bit of a refresh. Maybe it is another voice. Maybe it is someone who Hans trusts to offer guidance and advice and influence and decision making that Hans wouldn't be able to properly do now. Maybe he's starting to become a little irrational, Maybe he needs someone to tell him something different than what he's been hearing. But and some may look at this and say, well, he's bringing more of his friends. Who is the Sampath guy that replaced Tammy Irwin? Who is Manone, who's replacing Ronan Dunn? Was there anything wrong with Tammy or Ronan? These new people that replaced them, I mean, are they better? I mean, the numbers don't show it. I mean, you would say, well, let's give them time to turn around, but the only thing that hasn't changed is Hans. So something has to happen at the top level. At least now I think there's a possibility of something maybe stirring things up, shaking things up, and bringing in some fresh ideas to the company. Maybe. Purely speculation. These are just some open thoughts and commentary I wanted to offer you guys. But I will tell you, in speaking to Roger myself, one of the things that I asked him was, how big of a move is this? And, Roger in confidence told me board members are always impactful, and I think this one more so than ever because of that familiarity and the pre-existing relationship with Verizon and Hans and Vodafone CEOs, especially. That was something he mentioned. And this was the heyday of Verizon, folks, when there was a Vodafone element to the company. It was their golden era, for sure. Verizon 1.0. What do you guys think of this story and all the things I discussed? I'd love to hear what you guys have to say on this. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Like, share, subscribe for more, and turn on that bell notification icon to never miss an upload. And all the things going on with the channel are in the description box. But I'd like to leave you with a positive, motivational close to this video. Every new day is an opportunity to be great. Go out there and be great. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next one. Peace.